Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the 8-Bit Debaters podcast. Rob, I stole your bit. I stole your thing. My name is Paddy, and well, if you didn't know, this is Twisted Bad Gaming's podcast, where we basically talk about some news. We get to know each other a little better, and then we do something called the Master Bay. We'll go to that later, where we basically have a little fight. I think this week we are talking about what video game deserves an HD remaster. And I'm sure these three guys, I'm the host today, have picked fantastic games that they're going to entertain you with. But first, we're going to do a little section that we like to call the Icebreaker.
The Icebreaker.
This is the chance for us to get to know each other a little better, because obviously, you know, that's what this is actually all really about. And for you to get to know us a little bit better. So this week, the Icebreaker question is, Alistair, say hello to the people.
Hi. Am I the question?
You're the question. Well,
yeah.
A question to which there is no answer. What is your favourite first-person shooter of all time? You being our first-person shooter guy.
Obviously. I had to think long and hard about this.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being a tie, but it's all in the same franchise. It was either Halo 1 or 2. I really couldn't split them.
I would have went to Halo 3, but yeah.
I preferred one of the first two, and I really like, because they seem to mesh together for me, because I played them like pretty much back to back, so I can't actually remember what parts are the first and the second. So I just went Halo 1 or 2. It kind of brought me into like online gaming or LAN gaming and kind of gaming as a whole. So for me, it's like quite a special one, and I just loved the whole setup of Halo, of just how all the weapons work, the power of the pistol. Because normally you'd never use a pistol unless you were desperate. In Halo, it was pretty much your primary weapon. And I just love how they set that up. And then, yeah, the rest of the franchise is pretty good, but 1 or 2 stole the show.
Nice, thank you very much. Geordie, how about you?
I went for a game that I have 100%ed on this channel before, and that's Time Splitters 2.
No, very nice.
I think it was a large part of my video game, my childhood. I remember it's got a very memorable soundtrack, very memorable characters. It's just fun. It was my GoldenEye, I think. So yeah, it's stuck with me for a long time. And then the sequel, Future Perfect, was very good as well. So.
Yeah, 2 very solid games. I love me some Time Splitters too. And yeah, you finished that on our little series One Life review, which you can find at youtube.com/gaming. Rob, how about you? What is your plug?
For me, it's a hard one because I'm not a massive fan of first-person shooters. But I'd say the probably one. I know, right? The probably one that I'll probably say I enjoyed the most. I'm going to have to go with a Far Cry 3. I think out of everything, I'd probably choose something that had to be a single player sort of thing. I couldn't go with one of the online shooters because I just don't play on them that much. And yeah, I know Far Cry 5 and 4, they're just sort of a better versions of 3 slightly, but I think 3 was it made such a good formula with its open world and all the outposts. And yeah, it is a lot of a busy work, but it's really good for people who enjoy that sort of busy work, going outpost to outpost, area to area, doing the same thing over and over again. And I enjoyed it because it allowed you to take if you want to go in silently, you can do that. If you want to be loud and blow things up, and it was a formula that's so good that Ubisoft are terrified to change it. So
yeah, it kind of set the bar for everything that we've seen since from them, pretty much. And it was such a huge jump between Far Cry 2 and did you play Far Cry 2?
I did, and I think Far Cry 2 was really good for very different reasons. It went for that real strong realism, and I think it being set like in Africa was really cool as well, and they haven't managed to do that since. It was kind of a little bit more bleak, but the whole oh fuck it, no. It's gone.
Far Cry 3, good game.
Not worth of it.
100% agree.
It is a really good game.
100% agree. So I'm going to go for one that I'm surprised actually we didn't hear. Call of Duty 4, the first Modern Warfare, which was my
classic Paddy
entry into first-person shooter. I think that's pretty much the first, well, other than GoldenEye, definitely the first online shooter I'd ever played. And that just changed everything, Rob.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm just speaking
Well,
directly to you, but
it
just changed. Like I'd never done it before, and I was like, this is fun. And this is scary because people are
I murdered
much better
a
than
person.
me. Exactly.
An actual person.
Exactly,
Rather than
a real
a bit of
person.
code.
And now they're shouting at me. No, but that was just such a great game. Like a good story, amazing online. Definitely my favorite first-person shooter, and I definitely didn't think of that as you guys were talking.
Classic Paddy.
Classic me. So I think thank you guys for that. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our main part of the show, the masturbate.
The masturbate.
This is the part of the show where we have a little fight and have a little tiff and get very angry at each other. So the way this works is I'm the judge this week, and the other three guys are going to debate, each going one by one, what video game deserves an HD remaster. So we'll go through each of the bards, and they will give us a little pitch about what game they think they should be an HD remaster, what game deserves to come back in glorious high definition, glorious 4K. And I think, Alistair, we'll start with you.
It's actually already been mentioned in this podcast, but it's GoldenEye, obviously. I think the nostalgia factor is hitting hard, and I've been craving to play it just since I last played it, and just never got around to it. Don't have an N64, and I'd love to see it again on like an Xbox One. I mean, I wouldn't like it to totally have a change, but I'd like to keep it sort of the same kind of style it was, and the same almost shitty graphics. That almost adds to it, but maybe like a bit of a spruce up, because some of the maps were just ridiculous for the time. I remember one of them, when you go outside one of their bases, it's covered in snow, you get lost so easily, and just to have that remastered in HD and 4K could be spectacular. And they could add maybe a few different components, try and put in an online mode. That would be incredible. And I think there's a huge community still out there who would absolutely dive on it if it came out, so it'd be a moneymaker for sure. I think, one of the active communities is a speedrunner, so I don't think they would jump on it, because they like to stick to the originals. But everyone who grew up in the 90s and played GoldenEye would be back on it, and I think people who didn't get the chance have probably heard enough about it and have that just kind of flogging of a dead horse and be like, right, I've got to give it a go, I've got to see what all the fuss was about, and we jump right into it. Because it sold about 8 million copies, I think, in its release time, and it was only on the Nintendo
I think
60.
as I read these notes.
Oh no, if I read the notes, I would know it's 8,090,000.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just went 8 million is close enough.
Close enough. Have you? So you said you haven't played it since it came out, or not since it came out, but like you haven't played it for a long time.
Since the days of the N64.
Yeah, I played it a few years ago, and my god, it was just uncontrollable.
Yeah,
I
think
we've come on such a long way. I think they'd have to.
Did you replay it on?
Oh yeah, on an N64 controller. Yeah. I'm just like, I have no idea how this works. I can't do anything.
It's such an awkward way to hold it, but I think in the remaster they brought it over to the PlayStation, the Xbox. I mean, I don't know who would get the rights, how they'd fight, how they deal with it. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying what game should be it, not who takes over. But I mean, with the dual stick system, it would be a lot easier to control, and kind of instead of the weird fiddly bits, you can actually deal with it and maybe have a chance against Oddjob instead of just having to fiddle around and try and aim lower. But
still hacks, bro. That's still hacks, bro.
With the early days hacks, but I think there's still a huge market out there for GoldenEye, and just the fun that it brought, and bringing couch co-op back in, especially those crazy days of like the multiplayer where you got all your friends around and you just shot the crap out of everyone. Just had a great day. I could just do that now, legally and drunk.
Thank you, Alistair. Lovely pitch for GoldenEye. Geordie, how about you? What game do you say deserves an HD remaster?
Well, I went for a game that it was made before I was born, but I did manage to play it because one of my friends had a N64, and that was Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, which was a cool sort of first-person / third-person Star Wars game, which was very cool. You played as I've forgotten something. Kyle.
It was
Steve.
A Dash Rendar.
Oh right, yes, I'm thinking of
like
Dash Rendar.
Something Kyle.
I'm thinking of Dark Forces. Yeah, Dash Rendar.
My old friend Steve Kyle.
Dash Rendar, and it was very cool. You could do. There was a fucking land speeder mission, and it fucking hell. It included many characters from the Star Wars series, and I think with the stigma that Battlefront is getting, I think we need another, just a normal single player Star Wars game that isn't multiplayer or has loot boxes or anything, because I think there's still a lot of money to be made in Star Wars. So I think if we get a good Star Wars game, that would be quite good.
Those are that is the same word twice. Thank you very much, Jordy, for that pitch. Rob, how about you? What is your GOM?
My game is a PlayStation 2 game, which was called True Crime: Streets of LA.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure. It's one of those games which isn't seen as a cult, a classic, but loads of people know what it is. It was a game for the PlayStation 2. It was kind of an open sandbox, a city where you played as a character called a Nicholas Kang, who's a cop, and it drew a lot of parallels between a GTA, but it did something very different with the whole cop thing, in the sense of, you know, you went around the town and inside in the free roam world, there were random things that happened, and you as a cop had to go and sort out those problems, and those were really cool. It mixed up gunplay, which was actually really cool because it had a lot of bullet time things to it. It mixed up martial arts, where you could do really good sort of well-made fist fighting. It did sort of a free roam exploring. It had a story to it, and it was just a really cool really cool game on the PlayStation 2 that sold really well and loads of people play. And I think that's a sort of game that appeals to people who play HD remasters. They go, oh yeah, I remember playing on that. That's really cool. Yeah, like they're bringing it back. I'll play that. And I think the things that are in that game will translate really well to where we are now. And I think personally that game will stand up really well if it's got improved controls, and just sort of a bit of a refresh. Won't need much reworking, because it was a really well made game. And I think the only drawback it had slightly clunky controls, which could be sorted in the whole a remastering process. It told a really crazy story, which you could choose to be either a good cop or a bad cop on, which was a really cool. You can drive around in a car with a pair of handcuffs and slap them on anybody, whether they were good or bad, and that was really cool. And I think that's a game that, if you were to ask this a question, not many people would say that game, but I think it's a game that people don't think they would want, but they do. And that's me.
You know what? I'd forgotten that game existed until you mentioned it, and then I was like, "Oh my god, I remember playing that." And I'm trying to picture, you know, like in my head, like trying to remember what it was like and stuff. But I remember really enjoying it at the time. But yeah, great pitch. Thank you very much, Rob. Okay, so the next part of the debate, now that we've had 3 lovely pitches, is to go basically let you guys loose on each other, to talk it out, fight each other on why yours is the best and why the other 2 are terrible. And then when I've heard enough, you'll hear this.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Classic. Classic. And that'll mean the debate is over. I've heard enough, and I'm ready to make my ruling. Boys, have at it.
Well, let's start with a GoldenEye, because that one's easy.
I expected this. Come on.
You've already had a remaster. That was a remaster made in 2010 on the PlayStation.
Another one.
Why do you need another one? You've already
More
had
money.
One. If the question is what game deserves a remaster, surely the one game that's already had a remaster doesn't deserve it.
It's not in great 4K, is it?
It's not in great 4K. Does a GoldenEye need to be in great 4K in the way that you say? If you're just going to slightly improve the a choppy graphics, it's just going to be it will look fine in like HD. It doesn't need to be in 4K.
When you get that paintball mode on with massive head mode at the same time in multiplayer, you want to be able to see those vibrant colours coming right out the screen.
Colours.
And you want to see those pointing heads sort of almost poke into the screen. You're like, whoa, don't knock over my TV.
You've already shot yourself in the foot by not doing your research and choosing the game that's already got a remaster.
I did actually.
And it wasn't even a remaster. You know what? It was more than a remaster. It was a full a rebuild to bring it into the new world of first-person shooters, and it went down really well. Everyone. I think the scores were like 88. It did really well, so it's not like it was a bad game. It's just it didn't have enough interest, and I can't see why, because obviously it is a revered a game, but it didn't sell really well. So what would change that now?
I mean, it's still going back to the nostalgia factor. Like, I think it's been talked about more in the past 5 years, and I've heard it since it's like been released.
That's only due to the fact that you've got a little bit older and you started paying attention to stuff that are being said. It's been said for years that GoldenEye should be, GoldenEye is one of the best first-person shooter games of all time and all that kind of stuff. But if you're just going to do a straight-up remaster, which is pretty much let's take a GoldenEye how it is and just do it up pretty and allow it so it can be played on the Xbox or all that kind of a jazz, then that's going to be a bad game.
Like in the remaster, I said it in the pitch, like the only addition would be a multiplayer, like online multiplayer mode.
So you wouldn't change the controls on that? That would stay.
Well, I mean, obviously it would be transferred over, so it would work well, like the gamepad, like the Xbox and PlayStation controllers. So obviously dual analog stick controls. No. What I mean is, are you going to fundamentally change how the game shoots? Because obviously in the old game, you point and you aim the camera in the general area where that person is, and you shoot, and he puts his arm over and goes, and he shoots. Is that how it's going to work, or are you going to view down the sights and shoot them? I think almost like a mix between the both. So we don't want to like go straight into this is James Bond, but it's also COD at the same time. We don't want to try and create it into something that follows the same regimen as every other FPS, but at the same time we don't want to keep the very clunky look and feel, like the very clunky shooting that was in the original. I mean, that's what they could do at the time. Now we've got so much better technology that you can actually aim. But I think kind of still keeping that rough animation would still give it that GoldenEye character. And that's what you want in a remaster. You want to keep the character of the old game.
But they've already done that. They already remastered it.
I checked this and I couldn't find it. So I was like, it's fine.
It's 2000. In 2010, they remastered it for, I think it was 360 PS3 and the Wii.
It was in 2010, it was for the Wii, and then they did it a year later for GoldenEye Reloaded for the Xbox 360 and PS3.
That was it. So and to be fair, like I said, that was done really well. It was built really well. It paid a lot of attention to the original, and it pretty much remade all of the same levels and all the way. So if you wanted to do that, you could. You had your chance with these. At the very least, with these two other games, you do not have that chance. If you want to play that, you have to go back, and you're going to have to buy an N64, or you're going to have to buy a PlayStation 2 with an original copy, whereas yours has already been remastered. It's already been done, so it doesn't really deserve it.
You could
25-year release or 25-year anniversary.
Yeah, could you remaster the remaster? Because a lot of PS3 games have been remastered.
You could remaster the remaster. I mean, at the same time, I don't think you try and remaster the remaster, but you take the remaster into account and fix all the problems that the remaster had to remaster it.
But it didn't have any problems.
I mean, no game is perfect.
I mean, all right. And what were the problems with the 2010 remaster? Then?
I didn't know it existed.
Exactly.
I have no fucking
Exactly. That's my point. You don't have anything like to put on here anyway. I think we should move over to Star Wars, because that. A Star Wars game.
Rob's
right?
had enough of destroying you. I shall now destroy you.
No, Rob
the first mission on Hoth was really cool. Like how you could do like the thing where you go around the AT-ATs and make them fall down. That was really cool. The rest of the game was shit.
Nah, man.
It really was. It was a horrible third-person shooter where you ran around with horrible horribly designed levels where you ran through shooting a blaster at, a few stormtroopers here and there, and then you got these bus fights that were hard as hell and annoying as hell. They weren't fun. Anything that you read,
it would be remastered.
Well, about this game is but the problem is,
so they could fix all that.
The game was. What?
It wouldn't be bad anymore.
It wouldn't be bad.
It's a different game.
That's not a remaster. That's a remake. You're actually gonna, because the problem with your game is your game is flawed from the design, in the sense of the all the levels are poor. They're really, really bad. They're just rooms and rooms and corridors of boringness. And there's not. And if you're going to redo how the game actually works, it's not a remaster. It's a remake, or it's a different different game altogether. You had the one bit that had jetpacks, which was sort of cool, but was horrible as well, because they just had these floating platforms, and it was just bad. You had the one bit where you were shooting from the first-person view.
Robbie's
out
dead.
Of the side
Down
of
the axe.
Outside of the ship, and
go,
all you were doing was just you were shooting things out the ship. But even that was really, everything about it was really poor, apart from the first bit. And I think personally, if the way that this Star Wars a franchise will be sorted, and what people actually want from the license is not to play as who knows a bounty hunter shooting things in droves and droves. They want to fight with a sword, with a bloody thing slashing things up, and they want to stab things and
with a what?
shoot things with the Force. That's
a space
a
sword.
lightsaber,
a claymore.
It's a space sword.
Yeah, a space sci-fi sword that goes zoom. And that's what people want. People want to have force
they want
powers.
more
I want
to
control.
Fix some
of course,
things.
it would.
With remastering
Star Wars,
and redesigning everything, they could make it a bit more interesting.
Redesigning is a remake.
Star Wars, a Battlefront
Just
made a shit ton of made a shit ton. Doesn't mean it's a good game. It just means that you put the name Star Wars on anything and it will sell. But we're talking about what game deserves to be remastered here. And yeah, I think there is a little bit of a cult following for your game, and that's to do with the main character, who's really cool. A dash render. I'll be more excited if they said they're making a new dash render. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's really cool, because he was really cool, and it'd be really cool to see more of him. But if they told me they were going to remaster that, which is pretty much here is the same game that you've had in the past, but has a new a bit of paint on it. Like I said, the problem is your game is flawed from the design point of view, so it's just going to be crap.
The thing about
Jordy, thoughts?
The thing about the Star Wars fan base is it's dedicated. It knows its stuff. It's not like one of those you can be sort of semi-casual Star Wars. Most of them are hardcore, so they know what they're on about.
Yeah.
And they would see this game, and most of them probably would have played it or at least heard of it, and realize it wasn't one of the better Star Wars games, and kind of get pissed off about that fact. So you would probably lose some of the Star Wars fan base before you've released the game, because they would have rathered maybe a Rogue Squadron or another The Force Unleashed, another Star Wars game to be remastered ahead of that one. And so the thing is, they have the knowledge and be like, all right, why are they remastering one of the worst games in that has been released under the Star Wars banner? Probably not the worst, but one of them, maybe down there. So I mean, it wouldn't necessarily sell well because it's got the Star Wars name, because people know what the game would be, and they would just like, no.
If they said they were doing a remaster of Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, people would lose their shit. That would be one.
Sorry, did I say Shadow of the Empire? I meant.
Yeah, if you said that, then people would be like, yeah, I'm really on board, because that's a cool game that's old enough, but still had well enough to it to be enjoyed now, whereas yours just wouldn't be able to be wouldn't be any fun.
See, my thinking was just we need a new, well, not a new necessarily, but a good adventure game for Star Wars. And I was originally going to do Dark Forces, but then I realized that it's not canon anymore because it actually undermines some of the stuff that the new films have done. So I thought Shadow of Empire fits in perfectly amongst the story. So, yeah.
Although they have said that the book, which is part of the extended universe that game is based on, is no longer a canon.
Yeah, but they could reintroduce the game without the book.
They could if they wanted to do a Star Wars a game. There's about 4 different things that we've already said that would be better.
Yeah, the better way for Star Wars to go, if it took another step, it wouldn't be a remaster. It would be a totally new game. Maybe rehashing some of the story, but it would be a totally new game. They wouldn't remaster.
I had a list of Star Wars games that I wanted to do. Rogue Squadron was one of them, but I wanted to, because if you think about like a redesigned sort of Shadows of the Empire, it could look sort of like 1313. Which we unfortunately didn't get, and then we're now not getting the Visceral game. So we need a sort of... It was third-person shooter in some places, wasn't it? I am remembering that right.
It was third-person shooter all the way through it, pretty much. It didn't have any they only had first-person shooting was when you were on the ship.
So if we have it remastered with new designs, new sort of mechanics...
new designs,
new game, new stories.
I think it would be pretty good. I think it would sell all right. I don't think everyone hates it as much as you think, because I have pretty good memories of it. But then again, I was
4
when I played it. So
trust me, there's people who've got some really good.
I was very good for a 4-year-old.
If you go back and read what people's opinions were of it at the time, it was exactly the same as what I said. Is that the first part of the game was brilliant. The first 10 minutes where you got to fly around and do the thing like around the AT-ATs, that was really good fun. Apart from that,
I'm just the voice of a new generation, Rob, and
we're
taking over. We're taking over, and we're having feasts of bleach to as victories.
Fair enough.
What was your game, Rob?
Yeah,
my game was True Crime Streets of Los Angeles.
That's the one that the sequel was remade, that was turned into Sleeping Dogs, wasn't it?
No, the sequel was True Crime New York.
Was the sequel to that made into Sleeping Dogs?
No.
Was a sequel to?
Are you sure?
The sequel made into Sleeping
sure
Dogs. Where does it fit?
The third True Crime became Sleeping Dogs.
I'm not. I wouldn't be sure of that because that was made. Wasn't that based in Hong Kong? But
I'm pretty sure it's going to be True Crime Hong Kong, and then something happened that made the rights go all weird. So Square Enix just made it into their own game.
Was the original? I don't think the originals were made by Square Enix.
After.
Yeah, you're just saying there's a game that's cool. Has some parallels.
We're getting off topic here. Go on, back on it. Why doesn't True Crime Streets of LA deserve to be remastered?
I'm going to be honest. I've never touched it. I don't know what the game is at all. So
I'm going to cool as shit. That's what it was.
I'm going to make some sweeping assumptions and try and see if I can just nail stuff down. It's basically a cross between GTA and LA Noire. There we go. There are two games because I've read enough that it says it's basically a GTA clone, except you play as a cop.
Wasn't it very controversial?
No.
Was it not with violence and racial?
Yeah, but so was GTA 3. It was a symptom of the time that you could go around and arrest people. It was a spin on on a really cool
and this,
formula.
Of this day and age of police brutality, it's going to offend so many more people.
With Grand Theft Auto 5 being
not going to get
remade for every generation, every 3 years, do we really need another GTA clone almost?
It wasn't a GTA clone though, because obviously the whole part of being a cop really changed it, and it wasn't in the same way that LA Noire was, because that was all about that was all about asking questions and investigation, whereas this is more about turning up to a place, hitting some people really hard in the face, getting some answers, choosing whether you're going to shoot them in the face or put some handcuffs in them, and having your freedom of choice, which these are things that GTA has not given us. GTA just
for a reason
is really no. I think GTA is really cool, and it's got its place, but I think there's a lot of things GTA could do, but they don't. Yeah, and I think a player agency is really important now in video games, and giving people choices and things like that. People really enjoy that. So this game was doing all the things that really cool games do now, but it was doing it like then. So why not bring it forward?
Have you played this game recently? Does it still hold up on the generation that it was made for?
Relatively well. It's a bit clunky, but apart from that,
so does it really need to be remastered, or is it just so that we have?
Yeah, because you can't play on it unless you buy a PlayStation 2 and get Streets of Thingy, and then you've got to work out how to plug it into your new a flat screen TV, as I've recently learned, doesn't have the input for all these old consoles. And it's a real arse. This is why we have HD remasters. So it's like saying, oh, what's the point of buying the Crash Insane a trilogy when I can just buy it on the PlayStation 1? You buy it because you don't have your PlayStation 1 anymore. Or if you do, probably it doesn't work, or like you don't have all the cables. And who really wants to do that? People want to buy things so they can buy it on their Xbox or their PS4 and play it.
Isn't True Crime becoming backwards compatible on the Xbox One?
I have no idea.
Oh, I think it might be.
Just because it's been backwards
compatible,
does that mean it doesn't deserve to be remastered in HD?
I'm not sure, but if it's backwards compatible and you can play it on your Xbox One, that sort of undermines everything you've just said about not being able to play it on the current consoles.
But this is like an if that you're saying here that you don't really know the answer to. If well, no, because you would have said it. So yeah, I mean, like, and at the end of the day, I'm sure Time Splitters 2 is backwards compatible, but I imagine you would love to see that HD remaster. If they said they were doing a HD remaster of Time Splitters, you'll be like, oh my god, it doesn't.
You said no.
Yeah,
he was leading in that direction.
I think they're already doing a Time Splitters remaster. Like, some fans are making it, which is why I didn't go with Time Splitters 2.
Rob's distracting you from your own argument.
Also,
but like, I'm right. Just because it's on, just because you could play it on the original Xbox, and let's not forget about the PlayStation 4, which is not backwards compatible, and if you own a PS4, then you will not be able to buy it on your PlayStation, on a PS2 and play it on your PS4. So you've already got like more than half your audience there.
Yeah, I think and this isn't a point just to sort of try and pick out points and try and shit stir. I do think honestly, if this game was to be released, there would be some sort of political uproar a bit because of all like the police brutality, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. That is all still going on, and that is still quite a tightrope that a developer would walk. So I mean, at the moment, I think there would be a bit of a backlash if you brought back something that allowed you.
I'm sorry, I don't think you should let the political climate
dictate whether or not Rob wins this argument.
Yeah, whether or not you bring out
it's got to be
a game or not.
It's a factor.
Who owns the true crime?
Is it though?
Who made?
I mean, if you were in charge of it, then yeah. But if it was me, I'd be like, no, this game had something to say in it, and it wasn't that. And anyone who reads into that is just a moron.
Who made true crime?
With it, but there's enough people.
Who made true crime? I have no idea.
Okay, so who owns? I was asking, who owns the trademark? Because
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know. What do I look like?
I'm just trying to remember because
a patent office.
That's why True Crime Hong Kong was made into Sleeping Dogs. I'm trying to think who was making it before, and I thought you'd know.
But this isn't a question. Is what game deserves a debate? It's
I don't
not
think people are gagging for a True Crime remaster, but I think
the problem with people is the problem. The problem with people is people don't know.
They don't know
what they want.
It's like
until
people don't realise what they want until it's spoon fed to them. You think of games like Shadow of Mordor. You ask anyone about that, no one wanted that really, but it was out and it was brilliant. There's loads.
The number of the players at the moment are kind of maybe back when True Crimes was released wasn't into the gaming scene, so wouldn't actually have much game time knowledge or even know what it is.
That
played
is
it,
a
never
completely
touched it.
non-thing whatsoever.
That is a thing.
That's coming from Mr. 1998 GoldenEye.
Yeah, but GoldenEye is still being talked about, so people know it. Regardless of whether they played it, somebody who maybe started playing games when they were in 2005 or wasn't even born in 1998. Well, actually, it was released in 1995. So, if somebody
you'd be very surprised if they said they were doing a HD remaster of True Crime. There would be a lot of people that would know what that game is.
Just go, what? What was True Crimes?
I think you'll have more people going, as opposed to what?
What?
What? But I think in the whole, it's sold enough.
All right.
Yeah,
everyone said their thing. Now, so before we
he's got me all riled up.
Before we end this, before we end this, and I cast judgment upon you. Which of the other two deserves it more than which of the other two deserves it? So don't worry about your own. Which of the other two?
Yeah, I mean, I know if I say one, it's probably going to give it to that one. I mean, I got to say, out of the two, Rob's would deserve it more. I think Geordie had the right idea with a Star Wars game, but he chose the wrong Star Wars game. So, and I mean, even though I still have no idea what the hell True Crimes is, I think it would have more legs than that Star Wars game.
Geordie, which of the other two deserve it?
Based on the fact that GoldenEye was already been remastered, and From Russia Was Love was a better game than GoldenEye. Hot take. I think
that is controversial.
I think True Crime deserves it more.
Rob, which of the other two?
Of the two, I'd probably have to say, even though it's already had a remaster, probably a GoldenEye deserves it more of the two, just because the other Star Wars game was a bad game, so it would just come out as a bad game. Or at least a GoldenEye, you'd have a good game out of it.
I should have just lied and said I played True Crime and that it was a bad game repeatedly over and over again.
It's a great game.
Because that seems to win the argument.
Rob, play the music.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Don't do it. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for what was a very spirited debate.
That was a hard one.
Well,
it was a hard one.
We're all counting on you.
It was hard for Rob to stop, and that was about it.
Rob was certainly spirited. There was three very different games. I'm not quite sure where to fall in terms of do I care that GoldenEye's already been remastered, because these games get remastered over and over again, ported here, ported there, it happens. I think Geordie, you're going to be disappointed because yours was the first one I discounted based on the fact I'd never even heard of it. And then nobody really sold me on it. Yeah,
we've been biased.
So it's between the other two. I think I'm just gonna have to go with the one that I would most want to play again, if it were remastered. And you'd think it were GoldenEye, but actually it's going to be True Crime Streets of LA, just because it's tweaked something in my memory. I'm actually, when we're done here, I'm going to go and watch video of it because
it's called a gag reflex. You want to vomit over the bad game.
I remember playing it so much, but I can't picture it in my mind because it was that long ago, like PS2. But I remember the time. I remember playing it. I think I was playing it like with a friend of mine as well. Like he was watching me, and so I'm going to go back and see if it triggers anything in my memory because I definitely remember enjoying that. So
yeah.
So I'm going to go with that.
It was a cool game. It was
yeah.
Cool as hell.
Yeah. And I hope they remaster it so I can play it. Just for your information, it was developed by a company called Luxaflux, which was owned by Activision, and they shut it down ages ago.
So it didn't have anything to do with Sleeping Dogs then?
I don't think so.
Thank fuck.
The publishing rights were picked up by Square Enix several months later, and True Crime Hong Kong was ultimately released in 2012 as Sleeping Dogs.
Well,
cool.
It did.
Oh, it did. Fair
So
play.
we don't know who. So they must own it then. Oh well.
Yeah,
Hopefully they bring it back one day.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
I had 4
very
games.
much.
I had a list of
Maybe.
4 games. I had Mario Sunshine, Ocarina of Time, Dark Forces, and Rogue Leader. I should have fucking gone
Any of
with
those
Ocarina
would
of
have
Time.
Yeah, you went for the 4th worst
Because I
game
went
in
for
that
one
list.
that we aren't.
If you pick
guessing
Ocarina
a
of
lot
Time and I'm judging, you're gonna win because
Mm-hmm.
I'm massively biased towards that
I
game.
went for the one that we don't get enough of, which is a Star Wars adventure game.
I went
That's
for a
true.
challenge.
Al,
I should've
that
gone for
is-
chess.
title of your book, Al.
I
Title
went
of
for
your
one that
book.
already had a remaster, so yeah, I definitely knew that.
Okay, well, I think we're going to move on from the debate, and we got a little bit of time, so we are going to head into the news.
Our views on the news.
I love a jingle. Love a jingle,
Good
and we've
jingles.
given you 3. So, Rob, I think you have a couple of news pieces to take us through today.
Yes, I do. So the first one is apparently the newly released God of War has sold more than any other a God of War in the UK. I don't know. I don't think that will surprise everyone because everyone's been very hype and very excited about this new version of a God of War. But I thought that would give us a chance to open up and have a bit of a chinwag about it. And I imagine a Paddy probably the only one out of all 4 who's actually played it. So, why don't you tell us about your experience with the new A God of War and how you're feeling about it and how it compares to the first 3?
Sure. So I'd say I've played about 10, 12 hours. I think I'm relatively early on because I'm like, it does one of those things where you have linear pieces and then you'll come to like massive open areas that you can explore for ages. So that's kind of it. Well, so far anyway, that's what it's been like. And I like to take my time when I get to one of those big areas. So kind of
Explore
absolutely every single
nook and cranny.
Yeah, every single cranny I can find.
Are you getting all the collectibles on the way? As
Yeah, picking up all as many
man.
collectibles as I can get.
That pleases me.
And also, I want to take my time. I want to take my time with it as well because you don't get. Unlike most of the games that are made these days, this one's not here to keep you here forever. Like it wants you to experience a story, and then maybe one day you'll play it again. But there's no microtransactions, there's no loot boxes, there's nothing you can,
It's just a pure.
There's no way
pure,
of paying them
game.
any more money for it. Like
Would
you bought the
Would
game.
you say it's more Witcher or Last of Us in the way that its story sort of moves on?
It's more Last of Us.
Yeah, cool.
People are talking RPG about it, but very light RPG elements. But nothing like overly. In fact, it's kind of almost slightly jarring in terms of the amount of like things you can customize and stuff because it feels like there's a bit too much. Maybe I just haven't spent enough time with it to get my head around it.
About it moving really from sort of a straight up hack and slash to what is more a sort of more a slow paced action oriented sort of game.
I mean, the combat doesn't have that same kind of like mad feel that the originals do, but it's really, really good. Like there are quite. I mean, I've not seen many, like all the variation types of enemies, but I've seen a few different ones, and like they have, you really have to think about it. You'll enter areas where there are enemies that'll have like a purple health bar, and they'll be like one or two hits, and they'll kill you. But for the most part, I've at least tried to take them down, and it's like you really have to kind of keep moving, and like the axe that you have is just so cool. Like, I don't want to just like spoil anything for anyone, but I think you've seen this. If you watch any trailers or any videos, you've seen it. Like, you could throw the axe
and summon it back,
and summon it back whenever you want with the touch of a button. And
it looks really cool.
Every single time, it's amazing. I was standing somewhere, and I was just throwing it as far as I possibly could, and like just summoning it. I was just kept doing it over and over again. I was every time I was like, wow, this is amazing.
How is it playing with a kid? Okay, I'll rephrase that. I'll just like Kratos' kid.
The son, yeah. So so it's. I mean, from a story perspective, I'm not going to say anything about the story, but it is all about his relationship with his son. Like that is, that's what it's all about, and it's them, like kind of existing in the same space, sharing the same space, and the kid's very hopeful, and Kratos is obviously, he's seen some shit in his adventures, and he's, they do a really, really good job of like, what would that completely insane, vengeful, mad person who's just put it all inside and doing everything he can to keep it down, like what would his relationship be with with his son, who he doesn't really know very well, even though the kid's quite old, but like they he's not an annoyance, like, and no. he actually grows in combat, so he'll start off kind of shooting his arrows, and now he's like better, so he's more involved, and he's got his own little skill tree, and you have your skill tree that you can improve for him, and he doesn't. No, you never have to rescue him. You never have to pick him up. He looks after himself.
Is it like a force swap? So like some missions would just force you into playing as him, or is it like one of those open ones?
You never. I mean, so far you've always played as Kratos. Like you never play as anyone, but
a companion, isn't he?
Yeah,
I've heard he's been going over really well, actually, in terms of not, like you say, not being frustrating, which most video game companions are.
Yeah, and I remember a trailer like ages ago. Well, not a trailer; it was a bit of gameplay, and like he wouldn't shut up. In the bit they showed, but they heard that feedback, and they were like, he speaks every now and again in combat. He says some funny things like when you're in fights and that kind of thing. And it's it's basically what if God of War grew up and didn't just grow up into what a hack and slash game would be now. What if it really kind of jumped on the same path that Sony's first parties are going on, of like, how can we redefine narrative, or how can we find that kind of narrative gap between straight single player linear game and like an open world RPG, right? Which kind of, so you have an open world RPG that does incredibly well with its story, like The Witcher, but again, kind of has lots and lots of, I don't know, that game had like too much to do. How do you pack it into like a 30 to 60 hour experience, depending on how much you faff about, and tell a really good story, have like brilliant combat, just it looks incredible, like just stupidly beautiful, and yeah, I mean, I just, it's one of those games, when you have a game, when you're not playing it, you're thinking about playing it. Like that's been
an addiction.
Yeah, exactly. That's been me the last few days. Like, I'm thinking, I just want to play more and see more, but then at the same time, I'm still trying to savor it, because like I do know that once it's gone, that's it. Like it's
just like crack.
I recently, when I finished Yakuza 6 on a Saturday, and ever since then I've been feeling really sad. I've been just walking around, and I've been trying to play on stuff, and I was like, shit. It's not Yakuza though, is it?
That's what they're already developing another one, so.
Yeah, they got Yakuza Kiwami 2 coming out in August. I'm pretty damn excited.
There is a GoldenEye remaster.
And I know what you mean. I wish I spent a little bit more time messing around with the side stories and that, as opposed to, I kept ploughing on with the main story, and now I've got no more left, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, but, and they do. So God of War is obviously known for its epic set pieces. Like they still have that's still there as well. Like scale is another level. Like I did a fight like against this creature, and I put, like, when it was finished, I could put the controller down, and I was just like, like it was so just like beautiful and epic, and really just feels like this is this is how do you bring back a game that people enjoyed the series, but it was never, like it was just a fun hack and slash thing. But this is brought it full into like, what can games be if they want to tell beautiful stories and they want to do it really interestingly and differently? How do they do it? Like this is that. So far, I mean, again, like, something may happen and I might hate it, but if it carries on like this, it's going to be
awesome.
Like just something that probably Last of Us levels for me in terms of like how I feel about it. And that Last of Us kind of defined what that generation was for me. It took, the fact that it came out right at the very end of that generation, and I was like, oh my god, like this is what, because stories in video games is my favorite thing. Like this is what it can be. This is where we've come. If you think that studio made, Sony are awesome. That studio made, Uncharted 1 and then at the beginning of the generation and then ended on The Last of Us. Like this feels like that level of, wow. And we still have Detroit, we still have Spider-Man, we still have Last of Us Part 2 to come on the PS4.
Who's a lucky boy then?
I'm a lucky boy, Rog.
Who's a lucky boy then? No, that's cool. All right, I think I'll move us on to a second piece of news that we're going to talk about this week. It is a bit of an older piece of news, but I've put it in for my own personal reasons. They have Sega have come out and announced the remasters of Shenmue 1 and 2, which will be coming out on the Xbox and PlayStation 4, and I believe the PC as well. I'm not sure, actually. I didn't actually check on that, but I imagine so, because the third game is coming to the PC. And that makes me... it's really weird,
How does it make you feel, Rob?
Because you'd think I'd be chuffed, right? You'd think I'd be happy.
Played it all.
But this is the problem that I've got is I'm a massive Shenmue fan, obviously, and I wanted to stream it for the thing, so I worked out that I didn't have a capture card for my Dreamcast in the way that I wanted to do it, so I spent £120 on a capture card that takes component, which wouldn't fit in my motherboard, so I had to go and buy a new motherboard, which cost me another £40 with a £50. I didn't actually have a copy of a Shenmue 2, so I bought that for £65, and obviously my copy of Shenmue 1 was £35, so I spent around £240 in be able to stream out in a really nice quality Shenmue, and then a week after they say they're coming out with the HD remasters, which was a very bittersweet pill to swallow. So I'm really happy. I'm really excited to be to play them, but it comes at a very bad time for me on a personal basis, and it makes me really sad.
Personal note, I'm furious. But I've got to say, like from my perspective, having watched you stream the first Shenmue on our Saturday night streams. Like that was really interesting just to see what it looked like, and as an HD remaster, like if it were to come out at the right time, if they choose a good time for it to come out, a time where it's not too packed up with other stuff that I want to play, like it's something that I might look at. I might think,
try it out. Well, I think I'm from my point of view, I'm really hoping it brings people in, so people will then head on and buy the third one when that does eventually come out. I think the main problem with the whole HD remaster, and this is something that I have said for years, is the first hour and a half of the first game is very slow paced, and I genuinely do worry a bit that it's too slow paced for people now, and most people go, oh, I've heard about this, I'll play it, they'll download it, they'll play the first hour and be like, oh, it's fucking shit, and then
wow, they really changed after that hour.
and then obviously not play it anymore. It's just hopefully people can get over that hurdle, or if not, they've done something with the game to make it just feel a little bit quicker at the start. Apart from that, I'm super excited, and I'll be buying it once more and playing it through on I'll probably play that through by myself. That'll be just for Rob, because it's because out of the two, because obviously when I bought the original one, it was with the American voiceover on it, which is really, it's got its charm and it's got its a nostalgia, but it's really bad. It's bad. Usual late 90s voice acting. It's just bad. And I always remember when I played the second game that always had the Japanese on it, and it always felt so much more authentic. So I'm very much looking forward to be able to play on the first one with the Japanese on, because then I can get a feel for what that was. So it'll be sort of a new experience for me. So I am really excited. I know there's a lot of people out there that are really excited. I imagine you guys not so much, because obviously you hadn't really played on it in the past. But I do hope that some people
since you've
will.
been going through it, it's kind of a little bit of a buzz, and I'm tempted by it, because I mean, I saw you play it. I want to get hands on, see how it feels for myself.
How it feels for yourself. No, I really hope it brings people on board, and it seems like there's a few things going around at the minute with Sega as a whole, who've been doing a lot of crap stuff for the past 15 years, but they've done a few things recently that are pretty cool. So hopefully they might be making a bit of a U-turn. So who knows?
Cool. Sounds cool. Brilliant. I think that's everything.
Yeah,
from us. That's it. No, this brings us to the end of episode 7 of the 8-Bit Debaters podcast. We are Twisted Bird Gaming. You can find us at youtube.com/twistedbirdgaming, where we have a whole bunch more gaming stuff. You can get this podcast on a lot of podcast services and also on our YouTube channel if you want to see our lovely faces. You're missing out if you're not there. Everyone's doing a dance for some reason. A lot of dancing. Yeah, and you can check us out at youtube.com/twistedbirdgaming for a whole bunch more shows, gaming stuff. We do live streams on Thursday nights and then occasionally Saturday nights as well, and a whole bunch more lovely stuff like that. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you again next week. And if you could like and share and subscribe, that would make us all super happy. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.